Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the new Netflix Western anthology movie, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Now this is a film I knew nothing about until it popped up, and my thinking right now is because I'm so enthralled with the game Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm really in the mood for watching westerns and good westerns at the minute, and I've been keeping an eye out for one, and this one popped up. It's a film that's directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. What can go wrong? And it's an anthology movie. I like anthology movies. Now, I start this review with a little bit of a confession. I'm not a huge fan when it comes to Joel and Ethan Coen films. Obviously, I acknowledge their talent. They're clearly great at what they do and they make great movies. It's just generally the themes of their movies, the movies that they make, don't always click with me. There are some exceptions to the rule, but I don't get like a giddy child when I see one of their films coming out. But I thought I'd give this one a go. And this is, like I say, an anthology film, western based, and it has 6 stories and it's just over 2 hours long. So each of these 6 stories has a good amount of time dedicated to them. What is this film about? Well, this is a mixture of everything, guys. This anthology film, you get comedy, you get a bit of a musical in there, you get tragedy, adventure. It gives you everything, and each story is meant to give you a different taste and flavour of the Old West, and I think it succeeds superbly in doing that. So I'll give you a little bit of a taster of each of the stories. The first story is actually about Buster Scruggs, and it's more of a musical, this first story, which really worried me because I don't like musicals. So when they started bursting into song in this first story, I was a bit worried. Even though I did think it was funny, this was the very comedic story and a musical. I thought it was funny. I really liked the characters in it, but I wasn't a fan of the singing in it. So I did enjoy the first story, but just be warned, that's what it's about. And it focuses on Buster Scruggs, who's a travelling outlaw basically, and gunslinger, and some of the adventures that he gets on in this story. The second story stars James Franco, and it's a story that focuses on him robbing a seemingly lonely bank that's out in the middle of nowhere, and he goes in there with every intention of robbing it. But things don't go exactly according to plan, and James Franco character seems to be the unluckiest cowboy on the face of the earth when you watch this story. I quite enjoyed this story. I thought everything was fine about it. Quite comedic at times as well. Nothing wrong with it at all. The third story focused on Liam Neeson, who was like a travelling performer. He's on a stagecoach and he travels from town to town, and when he unveils the act, it's a guy or a boy with no arms and legs quoting famous acting lines and famous speeches and things like that initially wows audiences, but over the course of time that sparkle seems to fade and Liam Neeson sees other opportunities. That's all I'll say on that story. Quite a bleak one, this one, I have to say. Not an awful lot of dialogue. Liam Neeson says very little in it. A little bit tragic at times, this story, and a bit dark, but very good. The fourth one was arguably my favourite one, and there's actually basically only really one character in this, and it's Tom Waits, and he's a prospector. The cinematography in this one, as in all of them, but in this one particular, for me, took my breath away. I thought it was beautifully shot. And he basically finds a stream and decides he's going to do a bit of prospecting there. And he does a bit of a detective work over a couple of days, and he discovers where the gold is best to dig, and which he does. And again, things don't exactly go according to plan. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to ruin any of these stories. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really a wonderful story. I thought Tom Waits was outstanding in his performance in this segment. The fifth one starred Zoe Kazan, who was a young woman travelling on a wagon train with her brother and a little Jack Russell dog. her brother dies very quickly and she's left not knowing what to do, still stuck on this train. She knows when she gets to Oregon, the promises that were waiting for her there aren't going to take place now since her brother's passed. I've got this was arguably one of my favourites as well. I just, again, the cinematography just blows you away. Beautiful, and a really nice story, but with a tragic end, heartbreaking end, really. But a very, very powerful story. And the last one, arguably the weakest actually, and this one had Brendan Gleeson in it, and it basically 5 people in a stagecoach talking for the whole journey. It reminded me very much of The Hateful Eight. It was almost Quentin Tarantino like, you know, that scene in Hateful Eight where they're in the carriage at the beginning, Samuel Jackson, Kurt Russell, Walter Goggins, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and they're just talking. This was very much like that, just with less swearing and use of the N-word, but it was basically just a conversation, and it was interesting to watch. Great performances, just didn't capture me like the other stories, if you like this one. And those are the 6 stories that you get, guys. I've got to say, I really enjoyed this film. It's a very, very well made, beautifully shot, beautifully acted anthology film based around the Old West. If this is your sort of thing, I think you're going to love it. I think there's no real standout weak stories here. Depending on your taste, there's something for everyone to enjoy, and I've got to say, I really enjoyed it. I found it really actually quite relaxing to watch at times, this film. It was so beautifully made. Loved the soundtrack, loved the authenticity of it when it wanted to be really authentic. The first story kind of might put you off a bit because it almost feels like it's lifted from a cartoon, but after that it really, really settles down into a beautifully made film. And I've got to say, guys, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, and I do recommend it if you're a fan of westerns. So that's the review for the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I forgot the title then, but you know, I'd never heard of it until I saw it. So I hope you enjoyed this review, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time on Screen Stars.